On Overdrive this week, Bert gets you a road test of the Chevy Captiva and the Cruze. We get inside the top-secret McLaren Technology Centre. An auto selector with Bert in this week's motoring news. Hello and welcome to Overdrive. I'm Shireen Bhan. Now, it may not be a good year for auto companies because sales are down. But it's certainly a good year for consumers because auto companies are doling out discounts like never before. Moreover, you've got plenty more choice in the market. And that's because most companies have dished out a slew of launches through the year. The latest to join the launch party is General Motors. Here's Bert with their latest offerings.
After a very interesting showcase of products at the Auto Expo, General Motors went into a sort of a lull. But now they finally brought the bow tie back into the party with these two new products. This is the new Captiva and this is the updated Cruze. But let me take you through the Captiva first. Has the Captiva actually grown larger, or is that just an optical illusion? It's the latter. A significant and very clever detail makes the Captiva look more imposing than it did. And it's all thanks to the new honeycomb grille, which has grown taller, making the front face look bulkier. Subsequently, the bumper has also changed to complement the new grille design. This all-new bumper would have reduced the ground clearance of the front overhang considerably, but GM have bumped up the Captiva's right height to give it the necessary clearance. So what you end up with is a strong-looking front end, yet very nicely framed to match our driving conditions. Inside, the cabin is almost the same as the previous generation Captiva with similar equipment levels. Minor changes include an electronic parking brake, and while we did expect a larger display above the stereo showing the new navigation system, what is there is still the older LCD unit displaying some basic yet useful info on range, direction and temperatures. General Motors launched the new Captiva at the end of June, continuing to offer buyers the choice of the old 2-litre diesel engine and a new 2.2-litre diesel power plant mated to a 6-speed manual gearbox. Now here's a piece of advice, and it's very good advice. Keep aside the entry-level Captiva. Forget about the mid-level Captiva as well. Just go in for the top of the line, the LTZ variant. Now that's the Captiva, the new 2.2-litre CRDI engine. It's a diesel. And it comes from the good old Stars and Stripes, from good old USA. And because of that, it's a phenomenally powerful and incredibly torquey engine. You get 186 PS of max power and 424 Nm of max torque. That is just ridiculous in an SUV of this segment, of this caliber. Punch the throttle to the floor and you get this kick. And I've never ever seen an SUV in which the tachometer moves so rapidly from 1500 RPM all the way up to 4000 RPM. This tachometer just punches a hole through that gauge, through those dials. This is phenomenally fun. A few years ago when we first tested the Captiva, the previous generation Captiva, we said that it was the kind of SUV that would appeal to someone like my dad, an older person, a person who's looking for a lot of comfort, a lot of sophistication, a lot of elegance, an SUV that would have fantastic ride quality, stable dynamics, lots of space and a lot of features. But I must take some of that back because this Captiva, well, I must say that this SUV will appeal to a younger buyer. It has graduated in that sense. Would someone like me buy it? Most definitely, because I do appreciate the space, I do appreciate the comfort that this SUV offers, the kind of features it has. It's a very easy and effortless SUV to drive around in the city, and with this new engine, well, it gives it that sense of energy, that sense of urgency that the youth are looking for. And I'm quite sure a lot of people are going to like this. So that's all there is about the new Captiva. There's a significant improvement over the previous generation SUV. But now, onto the Cruze. So what's up with the new Cruze? Well, it's not as much a new Cruze as much as it's got a heavily modified engine. there's a lot of changes taking place under that hood. The displacement, for instance, the volume of the engine has increased by about 7 cc. Now that's an insignificant amount, but both the block and the head have been redesigned. The turbo has been moved closer to the engine, so the distance between the air intake to the inlet manifold has reduced, and you get better boost because of that. The older SOHC unit, well, that has been taken out, and you now get a chain-driven DOHC system. You also get a dual-mass flywheel. Now all of this combined gives this engine better power and torque ratings. So you get about 16 PS more power than the previous engine, and there's a whopping 57 Nm of torque more. But does it really change the character of this engine? Does it really make it that much more faster, that much quicker? Let me tell you about that. We got to test the Cruze at this airstrip at Varamati on a bright sunny day. Perfect conditions to see just what the new engine is capable of. I've done a couple of runs, and honestly, this engine does feel quicker, but there is a problem because the numbers just don't show it. This engine, despite all the upgrades to the power and torque, well, it isn't really quicker when you put the V-box on it. Performance, acceleration to 100 is slower than the previous generation car, and that to me is a bit disappointing. Now the reasons behind this, I presume, is because one, the tires, well, they aren't very well equipped for this kind of torque output. And secondly, the turbo lag that was present in the previous generation car, well, that has improved, but the margin is very, very small. You still feel the turbo boost kick in just about 2,200 RPM. And well, that isn't significantly better than what it was in the previous car. But get out on the highways, let the turbo kick in, and this car will fly. You can feel torque steer, you can feel the tires burn rubber even in second or third gear. And let's not forget, this is a manual transmission. It's a 6-speed manual transmission, so it's more tuned to fuel efficiency rather than outright performance. But let the turbo kick in. Cruze will continue to be offered in 3 variants and priced between 14.53 for the base LT and 16.44 lakh for the automatic transmission. The base variant costs over $1 lakh more, but now comes with a lot more features like keyless entry, premium stereo and fog lamps. The price increase on the top spec LTZ, just 62,000 rupees. After a lot of testing and evaluating, the conclusion we've reached is, well, the Cruze just does not deliver on what it promises. It is a fantastic engine, but it really comes into its own after 2000 RPM. Now, you really can't provoke that condition in the city where most of the time you're driving under 2000 RPM. In that case, the Captiva is a far superior vehicle. It's a lot more drivable, it's a lot more effortless, and throughout its rev band, well, it feels a lot easier to drive. If GM had to place its bet on a horse, the Captiva would be it.
Well, those were the latest offerings from General Motors. On that note, a quick break. When we return, we answer your queries on Auto Selector and we wrap up all the news from the world of auto.